Hello everyone. This recording has no preparation whatsoever. It's me thinking out loud about some things that are coming to my mind. I don't know why today. And so instead of me just going about my life and having those thoughts float in there without rhyme or reason, I thought I could talk them into my snowball microphone, and if they're any good, then I could turn them into a recording for you wonderful people, 3 or 4, and the cat that like to hear my ramblings here on this channel. I was thinking about the nature of our existence. Yeah, I know it's weird. I'm sorry. I have my coffee in the morning and then things like that just whoosh come into my mind. It's not as gratuitous as it might seem. I have these thoughts because I am in contact with wonderful, brilliant people. And we talk about these themes. And so naturally, if you are talking with other people about some subjects, then your mind just goes there and tries to develop the thought more. As you may know, because if you're listening to this and are not a plant or a cat or a dog, some unsuspecting pet the owner forgot at home, with random videos playing in the background, which now the poor pet has to listen to, then you would be a human being, and I gather your mind does the same. So this is what I'm doing right now. I'm just talking into my snowball microphone. I talk about this thing a lot, I see. It's just so good. I had a silly common microphone before and my voice came out all squeaky and rough and horrible, but then I got this lovely thing, which I have to confess I bought, not only for the specifications, for the technical specifications, but because it looks adorable. It's adorable. So and I love it, and that's why I talk about it incessantly. In tangents no one is interested in. But maybe if you're thinking about starting a podcast or something, or singing into some gadget, then maybe this is useful information. Oh my god, I'm talking nonsense. I'm sorry. Let's go to the nature of existence, which I was thinking about. Yeah, so there is something that I have talked about with some people, and that seems to trip a lot of people up. And so I want to talk about it. That is, how do you know what you are? How do you know what another person is, or even a dog or a chicken? There is something that a lot of people like to call objective, that is pertaining to objects in 3D life. Okay? Think about it. If you think of a chicken, a live one, not your dinner. If you think of a chicken, it has that tiny little body, it has to do things to keep itself alive, and it kind of knows what it's doing. It seems like a mechanical thing, some gadget that a creature who would be able to develop biological gadgets had put together. It looks like a tiny little machine, an app, 3D world app that lays eggs, okay? And then it goes around and does things. Okay, so this would be the physical part of the chicken, right? But if you have pets or chickens or whatever, you see that one chicken is not exactly as the other. And we have then these marvelous science people that come with their CAT scanners and say, no, you see, because this bit is different than this other bit physically, then this chicken has a different personality. But anyone who had contact with pets and people and plants and babies, I know babies are people. I'm just differentiating babies because they are just so young and they can't talk, right? And so they're kind of a different phase of a person, right? Anyone who had contact with living beings, this is what I'm trying to say, knows that they are unique. Every little thing is unique. Every little being is unique. Even if you have an ant farm. I know it's a ridiculous thing. I'm just trying to come up with this notion that trips people up, that of course there is all this mechanical looking thing on the outside, but then you have something in there that has nothing to do with this avatar, 3D avatar. There is something in there that if you take your time, you will know that there is a kind of a presence, right? Something that is unique. And this is why I put babies in the mix, because anyone who had contact with newborn babies, not one newborn baby, but several, right? They know that that kid comes out as it is, as it will be. That whole being is already there. It knows nothing. It can't talk. It can't walk. It can't do anything an adult person or even a small child can do, but it already is all in there, you know? If you haven't noticed that, then please go, I don't know, make some babies or adopt some pets or do something in the real world around living beings so that you can get to this sensation. Even in a litter of puppies, you will see that there are different mannerisms going on. What is that thing? And so this is what I'm trying to talk about, right? What is inside you? I know you have feet and hands and arms and legs. Hopefully everything is there. If not, then it's also fine. It doesn't affect this thing that is in there, right? Yeah, so I want to try something, a kind of a little exercise. So if you're having problems locating that thing that is really you, then I want to try a little exercise. If you know all this already, then just go away. This video is not for you. This recording is not for you. But if not, then just let's try to get to the limits of this perception. Okay? Now, think about someone you know. It doesn't matter who it is. It's even better if it's not a person, if it's like a dog or a cat. Think about them. Like, think about a dog and it's doing its tricks, or if you are a cat person, then your cat, right? Or if you're none of that, then maybe a person. Some people don't like pets. I have met those people who don't like pets. Then think about someone, a living being. Think about them doing what they normally do. They have some mannerisms. They go about things, right, in their own way. Okay, so you have that little image in your head right now, I hope. image or perception. This image or perception is in your mind. You created that. It isn't the real thing. It isn't the real living being. It's like a tiny little placeholder. It's a tiny little thing that you put in your mind, that you create in there. It's a structure. It's a mental structure. It's a concept. Okay. So that little thing that is going on inside your head is obviously not the living being. If you go and look up the science, with quotation marks, because I don't like for anyone to think that I'm corroborating information that I didn't verify by myself. Okay, so I haven't got a CAT scanner. I'm not a doctor, so I won't go and tell you that all these things are true. But the information that is presented to us regular people, if you go look it up, you will see that the explanation that is given is that it doesn't matter if your eyes are looking at a person or if you're imagining that person, the brain structures you are using are the same. Think about that. So you're looking at a person, and then your eyes pick up on that information, and once it's in your brain, it follows a path to your consciousness. This is what they say happens, okay? This is the information that is presented to us. Same thing happens with your ears. So if your ears pick up a sound, then it goes inside your brain, and then it's processed through some structures so that it comes to your awareness, so that you know that you're hearing a sound or a song. Now, if you are imagining that person that is not there, right? You were looking at a person left the room, and then you're imagining that person in the room. Okay. The imagining part is new. You're not looking at a person and getting the information of perception. But you are building a tiny little image in there that you perceive inside your mind as that person. So this thing is not real. This thing that you created is an image, a concept, okay? But from that moment on, for that thing to be processed inside your brain, that structure you created, it uses the same brain structures as the perception. So it doesn't matter for your consciousness if you are seeing the person or if you're thinking about that person. After the creation of the image, of the illusion inside your head, then the rest processes exactly the same. Same thing happens with sound. So you can listen to a song, or you can remember a song, and you will hear it in a way inside your mind. Because after you imagined the thing, then from that moment on, the brain structures that process that information and bring it to your awareness are the same. This is information that is not my own. This is information I got from explanations that are given to us. Okay. Either way, I think it's pretty obvious for anyone listening that if they think about a person or a dog or a chicken or whatever living being, a plant, that is not the real thing. The real thing is outside there in the world, living their own life, right? And that image, that illusion that was created inside the mind obviously is not the thing that is outside of you, of the mind, okay? So the first observation I want to make here is that if you can be aware of this function of your brain, that it can create something, a concept, some illusion, and the moment that thing is in there, that structure is in there, then the rest of the brain will relate to it as if it was a real thing. Then you can start to understand why it is very, very necessary to understand what reality is and what illusions are, and to separate those, and never hold inside your mind some structure and then insisting that that structure is the real thing. There has to be this awareness that you have a mind that is very capable of creating an illusion and making you believe that that is real. And it's a very useful function of our brains, because it makes it possible for human beings to prepare, to think about things before doing them, to figure out some consequences before acting. It enables human beings to create art and technology, because we can relate to something non-existent in the real world as if it was real. And so we can create things in our minds and then bring them to the world, to the 3D world, right? This is how everything is done in this 3D reality. Bridges don't just appear by themselves. They have to be built, and a lot of people have to create this bridge inside their heads first, and plan them and calculate a bunch of crap, so that they can then go to the real world, to the 3D reality, and build that thing up. This is only possible because we have this function in our brain. So it's a very useful tool. It's just not reality. Okay. Now, if you are clear on that, then I want you to think not about another person, but about yourself. This is a little trickier, because if you think about yourself, then you will notice that it's not a fixed thought like when you thought about another, because you are in there, you're doing it. So your image fluctuates depending on the context that you're holding in your head. So let's say, think about yourself. Think about yourself. Try to be aware of yourself. Okay, now change the context to family, and now think about yourself. You will see that this perception shifted a little bit. Now, just put family aside for 5 seconds and think about work. Think about your work environment. And now think about yourself. You'll see that the image inside your head, or the perception, shifted again. Okay. Now put that aside, and now think about schooling, like when you were 15 or 16. It's a very it's a very horrible age to be. It's wonderful and horrible all at the same time. Now think about school. When you were in school, at that age, and how you relate to that. And now go back in there inside your mind and think about yourself again. And you will have different feelings and different perceptions going on. everything inside yourself will shift. Okay, now let's do something a little bit harder, okay? Think about someone you dislike, or something that really makes you angry or irritated. Think about it. Okay. Now, if you have this person or thing that really irritates you, hold it there and now think about yourself. Okay, now just shift from the thing that irritates you to someone or something that you really, really love. And watch how your perception changes, how the perception of yourself changes. You don't even seem to be the same person, but you are. You are the same living being. When you're irritated or when you're loving, it's all in there. It's all you. Do it again. Think about something that really angers you and makes you irritated. Now, hold that in your mind and think about yourself. Try to find yourself. Observe what's going on with yourself. Okay. Now shift to the love part. Something you really love or someone you really love. It doesn't matter, something or someone. And now try to perceive yourself in relation to this thought. Okay. I hope you did it, because it's important for you to see how there is a living thing inside yourself, nameless, rather formless, but very vivid and present, that changes, that can do all these things. It's not your brain, it's using your brain. It's not your mind, it is using your brain to create the concepts in your mind. There is something in there. Okay. Now, the problem of not being aware of this presence that is inside yourself is that if you can't get a grip on the fact that, first of all, you're not the same person, you don't act the same all the time, because this would be crazy. If you are a parent, you act as a parent to your child, and if your parents are still alive, then you act as a child or as an adult child to your parents. It's not the same action, it's not even the same personality sometimes. A lot of people, when in presence of their parents or family, revert to their 15 or 16-year-old self, or even younger. But the living thing in there never changes. It's very consistent. That living awareness is you. And it isn't good for people to confuse their real being with the many iterations of themselves or roles they play in 3D world. So yeah, this was more or less what I was thinking about during my morning coffee, and I thought I'd just come by and try to make this recording. I hope it didn't ring too strange. If it did, then please tell me. I will try to make it clearer. I know that it might sound I'm talking nonsense, but I have seen a lot of confusion in this world due to people mixing up the image of themselves that they carry around or that they are momentarily carrying around at some point, and their real being, their real inner being. I think it's not that strange if you think about times where you lost your head and started yelling or something. Later on, you will say, I was not myself. Something like that. Or when you realize you made some very bad decisions in your life that put you in some position that you now regret and that is making you miserable. This happens a lot, right? One thinks about something that one wants and then puts oneself in some ridiculous position that one regrets later. Now think about it. If that image of like 3 years ago is you, then you wouldn't have any regrets ever. But it doesn't work like that because you're a living being. The thing inside yourself, which is you, is a dynamic living thing. And so that person that you were 3 years ago is no longer. And the decisions that that person made may not be the right ones for you now because you're not the same person anymore. And this is as real as it gets. The moment you can find yourself, you can find the real thing in there, then what will happen is a bit of a split. And you will be able to not get enmeshed with an image of yourself. And then you won't be suffering ever from things like narcissism or delusions of controlling other people. All of that will be gone because you will understand that everything outside of yourself is really not in your control. It can only be accessed by this avatar, this 3D avatar you have that goes around doing things and having names and having documents and passports and whatever else. But it isn't the real living being. The real living being is nameless. It is just there. It exists. And it is you. Everything that goes around outside of you, even your body, is just scenery and props and stories. So when you get to this awareness, then it will get clearer for you how to relate to other living beings. You won't be relating to them through images and illusions and things you think about them. The moment that person that we imagined back there in the beginning of the recording leaves the room, that's it, poof, it's gone. You won't then create illusions in your head about that person. You will understand that at one moment you were in the presence of the real being. But once the real being goes out the door into the world to live their lives, they're gone. They're gone from your life. They're not there anymore. You're not relating to them because they're not there. And after that, after you come to this realization, then there are some other things to explore. Things that are a little bit more difficult to explain. And in this recording, I'm just trying to make you aware of how things function inside yourself and outside yourself when you're relating to 3D reality. So I won't go into more difficult subjects right now, because this is the first step. This is the first thing, to understand that that little image in your head of others or even of yourself is not a real thing. It is a concept you create to be able to function in this world. It's useful, it's not wrong. Don't go buying into any of that woo-woo crap that tells you you have to be selfless or something. You can't. It's impossible to function in this world without a self. The real job is to get that little image to be consistent with the real thing that you are, so that you don't have roles or personalities in all these instances that are so different. You know how it is, right? There are people that when they're with some friends, they are idiots. And then when they are at work, they are very capable and sane. And then when they are with their children, then they are horrible. And when they are with their parents, they're even worse. There are people that are very all over the place. They don't seem consistent. That's because they're not. They are just acting out different roles for different images that they carry in their heads. And then they are all confused and don't know what they are or who they are. And then they are forever trying to find themselves in something outside of themselves. These things happen. And then they go to psychotherapists and everything just gets worse and worse and worse because it doesn't matter. None of that crap matters. These are all just mental structures that you have to be able to see what you're doing. Then you can build them up, take them down. It won't destroy you. You can change because you will understand that the only thing you have to do is to be consistent with what is already in there, with your real being. And then you can have yourself acting in the world and doing things. And if you have this awareness, if you carry this awareness around, then this self will be very consistent. It won't fluctuate so much. So that person that is an idiot with their friends and then very sane at work, if this person would get this awareness, then maybe he would be a little more relaxed and playful at work and less of an idiot with their friends, because they would just act from that consistent living being and not from the little images that they put up in their heads. So now I'm this person, now I'm that person, now I have this personality, now I have that personality. This isn't a very good way to live, and it is a worse way even to relate to others. Because if you're not consistent, then people won't trust you. They will think you're lying all the time. And sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not that. It's just that some people are not very aware of themselves and are not very consistent in their self, because they don't have this awareness of what is in there. They are not aware of their real being and of their existence as that real being. Okay. I think for a morning, this is enough. I want to leave you with the thought of a person called Jiddu Krishnamurti. But before I tell you the thought, I want to again just put in a disclaimer. I'm not recommending the work of this person. I'm not saying I agree with what this person says. It is a different being. It had a different take on this life and on this world. And I personally do not agree with many of his statements or even his life philosophy. Nevertheless, his work is very helpful for people who are trying to understand what they are. I read a bunch of things this person wrote. I watched some lectures. But when I realized the limits of my own existence, I didn't need his work anymore. And then I disagreed with quite a lot of it. I have my own thoughts. They come out a bit rambly. You know that if you're listening. But still, there was a phrase that this person, Jiddu Krishnamurti, said that helped me along in finding that living thing inside myself. The thought was, the observer is the observed, and the observer is not the observed. So there are things one observes inside ourselves and outside of ourselves. And there is the observer. The key is to find the observer and then understand the limits of the observer. Once I understood the limitations that 3D world puts upon one, when I finally understood that one can't see anything objectively because one can never leave the inside of ourselves, that realization gave me a whole new perspective in life. And so I'll say the thought again of this Jiddu Krishnamurti person so that you may ponder on it. The observer is the observed, and the observer is not the observed. So there. I hope I confused the crap out of all of you who are listening to this, except the cat. The cat knows what it is. The dog doesn't know. That's why they are dependent on humans to pet them. I'm kidding. I'm just trying to make this ending lighter. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this strange recording. If not, I'm really sorry. I tried. I am open to suggestions, questions, and even indifference. I'm good with everything. All of you, lovely people who come to this channel and listen to my ramblings. I'm very grateful. Thank you for listening. See you next time.